Joan was born to a peasant family of some means at Domremy in northeast France. In 1428, she traveled to Vaucouleurs and requested to be taken to Charles, later testifying that she had received visions from the Archangel Michael, Saint Margaret, and Saint Catherine instructing her to support Charles and recover France from English domination. Her request to see Charles was rejected twice, but she was finally given an escort to meet Charles at Chinon. After their interview, Charles sent Joan, who was about 17 years old, to the siege of Orleans as part of a relief army. She arrived at the city on the 29th of April, 1429, wielding her banner and bringing faith to the French army that she could bring them victory. The English were defeated in a series of battles, and 9 days after Joan's arrival they abandoned the siege. Joan encouraged the French to aggressively pursue the English during the Loire campaign, which culminated in the decisive defeat of the English at the Battle of Patay. This opened the way for the French army to advance on Reims unopposed. It entered the city on the 16th of July. The next day, Charles was crowned as the King of France in Reims Cathedral with Joan at his side. These victories boosted French morale and paved the way for the final French victory in the 100 Years' War at Castellon in 1453. After Charles's coronation, Joan and Jean-Louis, Duke of Alençon's army besieged Paris. An assault on the city was launched on 8 September. It failed and Joan was wounded. The French army withdrew and was disbanded. In October, Joan was participating in an attack on the territory of Perinet-Gressert, a mercenary who had been in the service of the English and their French allies, the Burgundians. After some initial successes, the campaign ended in a failed attempt to take Gressert's stronghold. She was captured by Burgundian troops on the 23rd of May in exchange to the English. She was put on trial by the bishop, Pierre Cauchon, on an accusation of heresy. She was charged with 12 articles, which included blaspheming by wearing men's clothes, acting upon visions that were demonic, and refusing to submit her words and deeds to the judgment of the Church. She was declared guilty and burned at the stake on the 30th of May 1431, dying at about 19 years of age. T.H.R.C. has been a highly influential model of sanctity for Catholics and for others because of the simplicity and practicality of her approach to the spiritual life. Together with Francis of Assisi, she is one of the most popular saints in the history of the Church. Pope Pius X called her the greatest saint of modern times. T.H.R.C. felt an early call to religious life, and after overcoming various obstacles, in 1888, at the early age of 15, she became a nun and joined 2 of her older sisters in the cloistered Carmelite community of Lisieux, Normandy. After 9 years as a Carmelite religious, having fulfilled various offices such as sacristan and assistant to the novice mistress, in her last 18 months in Carmel she fell into a night of faith in which she is said to have felt Jesus was absent and been tormented by doubts that God existed. Thirst died at the age of 24 from tuberculosis. John the Apostle is traditionally held to be the author of the Gospel of John, and many Christian denominations have also held that he was the author of several other books of the New Testament, depending on whether he is distinguished from or identified with John the Evangelist, John the Elder, and John of Patmos. Although the authorship of the Johannine works has traditionally been attributed to John the Apostle, only a minority of of contemporary scholars believe he wrote the Gospel, and most conclude that he wrote none of them. Regardless of whether or not John the Apostle wrote any of the Johannine works, most scholars agree that all three epistles were written by the same author, and that the epistles did not have the same author as the book of Revelation, although there is widespread disagreement among scholars as to whether the author of the epistles was different from that of the Gospel. St. Patrick was the first bishop of Armagh and primate of Ireland, and was the founder of Christianity in Ireland. When he was about 16, he was captured by Irish pirates from his home in Britain and taken as a slave to Ireland. Looking after animals, he lived there for 6 years before escaping and returning to his family. After becoming a cleric, he returned to Northern and Western Ireland. In later life, he served as a bishop. By the 7th century, he had already come to be revered as the patron saint of Ireland.